Okay, let's get her.
All right, here we go. Welcome to this special edition of Real Talk about Real Estate with Peter and Nicole. What is so special about this edition, Peter Woolcott?
Well, we've got a bit of a different trend in the numbers that we've been seeing recently. We had a 1.2% increase in the number of listings. We haven't seen a number like that. And we also had a decrease in the actual number of sales. You get enough increases week over week, week after week after week, you're bound to see a decrease, I would think.
And we have long been waiting for to be able to report that, and I think that was the spark to our reboot here. Dare I say, are we on the brink of a potential shift in the market? What do you think?
For the sake of my clients, I would hope so, but I don't really see a sign of it anywhere in the market. Between 50 and 70% of all listings across the board are selling for over the asking price. They're going into competition, and that's all areas of Burlington, Hamilton. I don't know the numbers on Mississauga and Toronto, but locally that's what we're seeing. And the average price just keeps going up. Now, is that because there are more detached homes selling than condos? Could very well be, but I'm seeing chain reactions along streets and neighborhoods in our areas where the prices are going up week over week pretty clearly.
I also agree in the sense that I don't anticipate prices are going to be coming down in the foreseeable future. Demand is just still too strong and will be, months away. The other dynamics that go into that also seem to be fairly stable. However, I will play devil's advocate a bit in that I think heading into the end of this year, I think we might be trending towards more of a closer to a balanced market where it won't be so daunting to be a buyer. I think we might be approaching a point where people are just too exhausted by all the competition. I think that might be a factor in why we saw such a significant decrease in number of sales week over week. I've seen recently in the past week where there was an offer waiting date for a listing that didn't seem overpriced based on the sales in the neighborhood. It seemed like it was priced accurately and they got no offers. I think people are just getting tired of that offer waiting date game, and we might see more people putting a pause on the search until maybe the spring. And in essence, that would help to sort of temper some of this crazy competition. So buyers out there, stay hopeful. I think relief is on the way. And sellers, if you have any thoughts of selling in the next 6 months, I would get on it now, because who knows what the impact will be heading into the new year and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, it could very well run out of steam and start to soften, and when it happens like that.
Yeah,
it's just like turns into a whisper.
Yeah, the switch is flipped.
Yeah.
All right, well, how about some fact or fiction? This one came up in one of our meetings, and it sort of stood out to me as interesting. Fact or fiction, Peter, even with a pre-approval, a lender may not finance your purchase if there is language on the listing where it says the house is in a state of disrepair.
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people think, I've got this pre-approval, I can go buy anything up to 500 or 600 or 700, whatever you were pre-approved to. But once you've purchased a house, you still have to get approved on that house. The bank still has to come by, do their own appraisal, do their own due diligence to make sure that they're okay with financing that property for you. If you're buying a property that's not habitable, meaning it maybe doesn't have running water, or the roof is in poor condition and it's leaking for whatever reason, it's uninhabitable, and those words uninhabitable or as is are in the listing, that can make the bank kind of take a step back and do more homework, and in some cases end up not financing a house if it's in too poor condition. So I would certainly make sure you cover your bases and maybe keep a financing condition in if it's a home, if you need financing, and if it's a home that's questionable about whether or not it's habitable or not. And then I've got a fact or fiction for you.
Hit me. Let's go.
Let's say I'm I like these 3 houses. I've been doing offers on properties like crazy, losing out in competition, and there are 3 houses that I want to buy, and they all have an offer presentation date on the same night. Why couldn't I just put an offer on all 3 properties and then hopefully get at least one of them at the same time?
Well, that strategy would be a very bad idea. So if I'm going to reword your fact or fiction, let's go and say that is a fiction, that is a good strategy. The reason that's a very bad idea is because unless you want to buy 3 houses all at the same time, the buyer would expose themselves to multiple lawsuits. So as soon as there's an executed agreement of purchase and sale, a signed agreement, that becomes a binding legal agreement. So if the buyer doesn't follow through by submitting their deposit, in essence, they're in breach of contract, and the seller could go ahead and sue the buyer for any damages that might result from them having to put the house back on the market. Let's say they got it at a lesser price, that sort of thing. So while there are creative strategies out there to try and be the successful one getting a house, putting in multiple offers on different properties is not a good one.
Yeah, it's crazy. We heard about people doing it in Mississauga and Toronto, where they would put 3 offers on 3 different properties, and then if they bought all 3, they would only put a deposit on 1, and then they didn't have any skin in the game on the other 2. That is so immoral, and what it's going to do
and illegal.
Yeah, it's going to backfire on the buyers inevitably, because then what's going to happen is you're going to require a deposit just to bring an offer. It's not going to be very fun to pay the $7 fee to go to the bank and get a bank draft every time you want to submit an offer. And we know the odds of getting an accepted offer in competition these days, they're lower than they've ever been before. So I can't advise not doing that more than I am. Anyway, I think that wraps up this edition of Real Talk.
And remember, the trees show us that change can be beautiful. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Awesome.